Is there really a new civil rights movement, or are we watching the hijacking of a very noble history? Hi, I'm Shawn Akers, Vice President for Middle Eastern Affairs with Liberty Counsel, and joining me again today in studio is Ron Miller, author of the book Sellout, Musings from Uncle Tom's Porch, and an active political and social commentary. Ron, thanks again for being with us. We've got another very interesting topic today. The one that we're going to cover today is this idea of a new civil rights movement. As you know from the headlines, there are many groups that are promoting far-left social change. One of those, the one that is in many ways at the tip of the spear for the far-left movement, is that to redefine marriage and to bring homosexuality and not only into an accepted status, but in many ways a preferred status in the United States. And they are calling that the new civil rights movement. What do you think about that, Ron?
Well, I think it's offensive, quite frankly, because the civil rights movement was based on the idea of bringing America's conscience back to the rights that we are all guaranteed as children of God. And it is based on the Declaration of Independence and its inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And those rights are not at issue here when we're talking about this radical social engineering movement represented by the move to redefine marriage. We're talking about their preferences, their lifestyles that they want to legitimize. Nobody is oppressing them. Nobody is holding them in slavery. No one is terrorizing them as the Klan and others did throughout the times after Reconstruction. It's almost like the use of Nazi analogies in the political sphere. This was a singularly horrific event in American history, the history of slavery and legalized discrimination in America. And the civil rights movement was a movement of moral conscience to bring America back to its founding principles. It wasn't about taking an institution which we know is the bedrock foundation of society, the institution of family, and children needing a mother and a father in a stable, secure, and loving relationship. This is all about people wanting to put their behavior and their lifestyles paramount. And so I find it offensive, and particularly given the impact of single-parent families in the black community where there is no father in the home, and it's staggering.
You know, it is patently offensive in many ways, Ron. One of those is that when you think about what the civil rights movement, the original civil rights movement, existed to do. It was to return the United States to the inalienable rights that were recognized in the Declaration of Independence as an endowment by our Creator. It was the rectifying of a national wrong on a level that literally manifests itself in treating people like property. Now, when we look back at that, when we look back at the Dred Scott decision and we look back at the history of the United States, it's a blight on us that we ever treated any person that way. It was a denial of the most basic inalienable rights. To turn around now and try to gain momentum for a movement by equating the value of a human life and its inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness with one's sexual preferences and behaviors seems to me to be really out of bounds. It really seems to me to be slighting the true price that was paid by the African American community, by the civil rights leaders, and by the civil rights movement itself to return a nation to the Declaration of Independence.
And the sad thing is that one of the things we see in the modern civil rights movement, just as we see in some areas of the church, is a co-opting of these transcendent values, these transcendent ideas by political motivations that have nothing to do with American traditions, just as the church was co-opted by liberation theology and its corollaries, and now all of a sudden has become a vehicle for the institution of the coercive state by a God who is a God of free will, what the irony in that is incredible. And now we're seeing a movement which was pure in its intent to bring all of us to the table of equality that was set for us by God, to suddenly promote ideas that have nothing to do with that. It is a corruption of the purity of this process.
And it's becoming one that's all invasive. You're finding it everywhere. It's preoccupying some of the most delicate and sensitive areas of our society. I'll give you two right off the bat. Right now, we are facing probably the worst economic outlook and conditions that we may have ever in the United States history, but at least since 1929. And we are facing more global, legitimate threats to our national security than we ever have before. And two of the places that you're seeing this so-called new civil rights movement play out are in the United States military and in business. Recently, Ron, 70 companies, 70 large companies that many of us have historically done business with, all put their names willingly. They forgot their customer base and put their names on an amicus brief, that's a friend of the court brief, the United States Supreme Court, seeking to overturn the Defense of Marriage Act that says that the federal government's not going to recognize same-sex marriages.
It's funny, they seem to say that it's a cost issue and all of that, but nobody is forcing them to provide benefits beyond those that they have provided in the past. As a single person working for a company, I'm not entitled to the benefits that a married couple's entitled to. So why do they need to make exceptions and extend these benefits other than political pressure being the key thing? And you're right. They're violating every tenet of free enterprise because I'm sure their customers couldn't care less about those issues. They want to make sure that not only are they providing goods and services that people need, but that they're providing jobs that people need to help care for their families. And as for the military, I served as an intelligence officer in the United States Air Force. And one of the things that strikes me is they're talking about people's rights within the military context. Well, when you sign up to defend your country, you give up certain rights in order to have the discipline and the order needed to be a military fighting force. And you don't experiment with these different things that have nothing to do with defense, have nothing to do with national security. We have one mission in the military. That's to fight wars and to defend our nation. And we're not a laboratory to try different things. And it really does threaten the ability of our military to do the job that they're designed to do.
Ron, on the consumer level, it may even be worse than people not caring. In fact, many of the customers of many of these companies would not appreciate the fact that their dollars that they're spending with these companies, those companies are turning around and spending to promote something that they're vehemently opposed to. Let me tell you a few of the companies that are on this list that you may recognize. Levi Strauss & Company is on the list. Nike is on the list. Starbucks Coffee is on the list. Google and Microsoft are both on the list. Every time we purchase a cup of Starbucks coffee, stop and think for a second that company had just signed an amicus brief to overturn DOMA.
The sad thing is that every company on that list is represented in our homes. I couldn't think of one where I haven't been a customer myself. It's getting so hard these days for us to find ways to live our lives on a day-to-day basis without this issue just being pervasive and winding its way into everything we do. It's frustrating.
But there are ways that you can become involved, and you can become both an economic patriot and a national patriot. You can lead the United States. You were, by virtue of your birth into this nation, given an opportunity to lead it. Some of the ways that you can do that are by joining with us here at Liberty Counsel. You can always visit us on the web to find out what we're doing at www.lc.org, or you can call us at 1-800-671-1776. When you do, ask about getting our book, Take Back America by Matt Staver, the founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel. This book will give you some of the basics on how you can become a citizen leader yourself. You don't have to just read the headlines. You can, in many ways, help make the headlines. Be sure to visit us on the web at www.lc.org.